Welcome to the Fantasy Football Prophet Podcast, hosted by Craig Phillips and Jeff Torrey. Visit us at fantasyfootballprophet.com. And now your hosts, Craig and Jeff.
Welcome everyone to the Fantasy Football Prophet Podcast. I'm Craig Phillips, joined as always by Jeff Torrey. And today, it's another mini episode of the podcast. We're going to do a little quarterback debate here, as we learned a couple days ago. I am a little bit higher on Russell Wilson than you, and I gave you the choice then of which player do you want to debate me with here. Which one? And you went with Jameis Winston is the one you ended up. I guess part of it is because we haven't talked about Jameis as much, but
I thought it'd be
I gave you plenty of options here. Jameis is, solid. I have him as 8th in my quarterback ranks, but I have Wilson as 6th. You rank Wilson 11th. And I have him 6th, obviously. We said, yeah. So that's a pretty big difference. You have Winston 10th. So only one spot ahead of Wilson, but enough that you actually do believe in it. Mm-hmm. So, Jeff, why are you going to go with the third-year guy who's not as proven, is not a Super Bowl winner, is not a winner? All those things. I could talk about all those things. He's not a winner. He doesn't win games.
Yeah, well, it's fantasy, so they don't have to win.
He doesn't run the ball as well.
Yeah, well, Russell didn't really run the ball well last year either.
Okay,
but
why is it Winston?
All right, so
why is it Winston over Wilson?
The reason I have Winston over Wilson, we should have thought of
Winston and Wilson. I didn't think that. Yeah,
Jameis or Russell.
Yep.
The reason I have Jameis ahead of him is because I think he will take that next step. He upped his attempts by 30 from his rookie year. He had 535 attempts, which is a lot for a rookie. He upped it to 567, so obviously he's throwing more. His completion percentage went up a bit, not a ton, but about 2 percentage points, 2.5. So he's in the 60 percentile range now. And his TDs did jump up 6. So his rookie year, he was 22-15. And his sophomore season, he was 28-16. So he made a big jump in the right direction. Yes, he does throw a lot of interceptions, but 18 is a lot already. I don't necessarily think I don't think that number is going to explode. I think he could easily get into 30s, perhaps even mid-30s for TDs. Now that he has those extra weapons that we keep talking about, O.J. Howard, Deshaun Jackson, and then you also have guys that played real time last year, Humphreys and the supporting cast actually, being role players now. Plus you're having a run game that really is not I don't think it's going to really get started until Doug Martin comes back in about week 4. So I think he's going to have to sling the ball. I think that's the way that he's pretty much built anyway. He's a gunslinger of a quarterback. So I think he's going to have a ton of opportunities. And I just don't think they're a well-balanced team yet. I think they still are very much pass-heavy. So for me, I just see the opportunity for him to actually have those breakout numbers for TDs. And really, his TD versus interception, is already about as good as Russell's average is, right? So last year I think is a bit low. The season before I think was a bit high. Mm-hmm. So I think Winston is about the same fantasy player, but I think he has that upside where I think Russell Wilson has less.
Well, here's why I'm going with Wilson. Mm-hmm. It's last year he was injured. Honestly, I think that has everything to do with everything. We brought up early on, or in that other episode, Wilson, first 8 games, he was like 17th ranked quarterback or something like that. The final 8 games, he's the 5th best quarterback, 5th or 6th best quarterback. It's pretty good. He ended up as the 11th best quarterback last year. Jameis Winston, 15th. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Wilson wasn't very good. He still beat Winston. Wilson's other 4 seasons in the NFL, 9th, 8th, 3rd, and 3rd. He's been top 10 every year except for his year where he played through injuries. Over the last 8 games, Jeff, where do you think Jameis Winston ranked in the NFL over the final 8 games? Some players didn't play all final 8, but this is average per game, weeks 10 through 17. If a player is playing at least 4 games, there's only one with 4 games ahead of him. At least 5 games, mostly. Where do you think he finished?
I'm guessing low, since you're asking me.
How low?
We'll go 17th.
26th.
Really?
Over the last 8 games of the season, weeks 10 through 17, fantasy points-wise, he was the 26th quarterback. That's pretty interesting, isn't it?
It is pretty interesting.
Do you know who was one spot ahead of him in average points per game? This guy only played 4 games, but still 4 games. Robert Griffin III beat out Jameis Winston. Okay, yes, it's only a 4-game sample, but still. He averaged 14.3, Winston 14.1. Other players ahead of Winston: Trevor Siemian, Sam Bradford, Blake Bortles, Alex Smith, Flacco, Colin Kaepernick. I mean, Kaepernick was actually 8th. Why does that guy not have a job?
Yeah, it was surprisingly good, actually.
What is the reason for this? Why is Winston so far down? Why was Wilson so good? Was there an injury? I don't think so. No, right?
I don't have an answer for you, honestly.
Exactly. He wasn't very good at the end of last 8 games. Wilson was. Wilson came back from his injury. His track record shows that he's good when he's healthy. That's where I don't even have to spout off other stats. Wilson is good. He's going to be healthy. He's going to be a top 6 quarterback, and he's going to win some people leagues because he's going to be drafted a little lower, maybe. So there we go.
Could be.
Can't answer for his terrible final end of the season. Do you have his game log up?
I do. I still don't know why he finished so bad. It doesn't look as terrible. I think his touchdowns just went down compared to the first half. But yeah, I'm not sure. He had a couple poor games, but in the same breath, Wilson, even though he had a great last part of the season, I mean, his numbers still weren't overly impressive. I mean, he was 21 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, and he only had 1 rushing TD to, top that. He still threw the ball 546 times, and his yardage was where he outdid Winston with 4,200 compared to, I think Winston had 39?
Yeah, I guess the worry
almost
Wilson
4,000
is maybe the receivers aren't as good, I guess, yeah. But,
yeah. So, I mean, it's very true. And once again, it is banking on the fact that I think he's going to take another step. So he's only been in the NFL for 2 seasons. Yep. This will be his 3rd. Usually a good time for players to kind of break out a little bit.
Yep.
And to your point, though, Russell Wilson does keep getting better as a quarterback, and he does keep getting more and more attempts throwing, which I think can only benefit him.
Yep.
But yeah, his numbers, besides for 2015, where he really did kind of go off, he went 34-8. Any other time before that, he really wasn't that much better than Winston. His interceptions are better. That's kind of where he beats him at the time.
All right, I think that's it for Wilson versus Winston. But
yeah, that's tough. It's tough to argue against Wilson because he's so likable and he does everything. He just does everything pretty well.
But some other stats real quick to let people know if they're curious at all about these quarterback stats over the last half of the season. Is the 9th quarterback was Tyrod Taylor and the 10th was Ryan Tannehill. Very interesting in points per game.
Tannehill, really?
And he only played 5 of those 8, but in those 5 he played, he was still up there. Very, very interesting. Head of Derek Carr, Dak Prescott, Ben Roethlisberger, Stafford, Mariota, all those guys. Rivers.
Yeah, I think those numbers would be very interesting when we're talking about people who.
It's interesting to look at if you go back and really start to see who was playing well at the end of last season. Like over the last 4 weeks, Sam Bradford was the 6th best quarterback.
Right?
Did you know that?
Yeah, no, definitely not.
But.
Yeah, you wonder that too. I mean, that could come into play more when you're trying to make sure that your team is going to be ready for the playoff run, or perhaps if you're looking for a jump. So like a Mariota would be really interesting if he was good the second half, but obviously injury.
All right, well that's it for this one, and we'll talk about some of these other guys we just mentioned, like Bradford and Tannehill and Tyrod Taylor on tomorrow's episode as we finish out the quarterbacks. So good little segue to that. So. We'll talk about those more and definitely draft Russell Wilson over Jameis Winston. Bye.